What's up, grappler fans? I'm finally getting around to putting my 2-inch leveling kit on my 95 Ford Bronco. I've been driving around with these 33 by 1350s on no lift. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this thing on.
But wait, there's more!
But first, I wanna tell y'all why I went with BDS Suspension again and why it's my favorite suspension company for bolt-on kits for like pretty much any vehicle. They do have a big variety, but I wanna go more in depth with that. And currently, all my stuff is either really old and stock original suspension, or like my donor 6.7 power stroke over there, it already has a ready lift on it that I didn't pick out. So as far as things that I have done in the past and sold, I don't have much to show you. So I'm going to show some clips and kind of do voiceovers. Hopefully that'll work out well to kind of give y'all an idea why I'm a diehard BDS guy. I'll keep this short, but starting from the beginning, I inherited my grandfather's 98 F-150 when I first started driving in high school, and I started doing all kinds of stuff to it, but mainly lifted it up a few inches. It was two-wheel drive, and I ended up stacking a lift and a leveling kit. Rode terrible. It was definitely not a BDS. Had the thing squatting, actually, but I really wanted a 6.7 power stroke, and I finally got one a couple years later after I had a real job and had saved up some money. I immediately deleted it, and I leveled this one as well. Put 37 mud grapplers on my 2-inch leveling kit with that. Didn't ride amazing, but you know, it was pretty good. You can see I had to get rid of that faded trim there eventually, but it's a pretty clean setup. You know, 2-inch on 37s. I post that all the time on my Grappaholics Instagram. Really clean look. Really enjoyed this truck, but I always wanted to go bigger, and I started really looking into a few different companies and decided BDS is what I wanted to go with because of all the options. Check this out. For an 11 to 16 F-250 and a bunch of other vehicles, they've got like every inch different size kit, and each one has different options. You can do it with coil springs or a spacer. You can do stock radius arms with a drop bracket. You can do aftermarket radius arms or 4-link. And what do y'all think I went with? I wanted the best of the best, so I checked all the boxes. I went for coilovers, 4-link, everything. I got the steering stabilizers, all the options. I ended up with an 8-inch kit, and that wasn't quite enough for me, so I actually cranked it up to 10 inches. Being a coilovers, I was able to do so. So it was dead level, much better than the truck I started with, and just a really clean look. You can see here I was on 40s with the factory wheels. That's again something not for everybody. Even more controversial, at some point I had 24 by 14s on the thing with 2-inch spacers, and it was just a nice wide, you know, daily driver that I took to some shows. But I started to notice that, you know, everybody and their brother has a two-tone King Ranch, and that's where I got the inspiration to start doing my 6.7 power stroke swap. So I've got my 1967 crew cab F-250 in the backyard that's waiting to get my 2016 engine. But as you can tell, I've always liked these 6.7s, and BDS is what I want to put on them. Also, they really stand by their products. If you break one of their parts, they will replace it, no questions asked. Now let's get back to the BDS kit going on my 95 Bronco. All right, here's my box of goodies from Sport Truck USA. That's like BDS, Zone, Fox, a couple other companies that are all kind of working together. But this is a BDS kit. Let's see if I can get in here with one hand. Very crooked cutting. So I'm not sure exactly what these shocks are going to look like, because they said they didn't have the ones in the picture, or at least not the right ones that I needed. So you're going to see with me for the first time what this thing looks like. It should be a couple coil springs and some alignment cams and a set of shocks front and rear. Let's see here. Seeing some shock boxes. Yeah, I think that's the type of shocks they had in the picture. Yeah, let's check these out real quick. Doing this with one hand, and sorry for the noise. My neighbor's weed eating in his front yard. All right, so he had mentioned that he didn't have the right bushings, so it was going to come with them. So this must be the right ones. I think it has the wrong ones currently in place. Okay, it has none of them in place. So yeah, I just got to press these in I'll double check, make sure they're the right ones, but should have those. Looks like it's just the gray BDS shock, and I think it has a sticker in here. It says something on it. Yeah, BDS NX2, so it should look like that. That's exciting. I think that might be a rear shock. I have to look. I can't remember exactly how they mount. So a couple of those. Got some paper. Oh, I got a bunch of, okay, maybe these are the right ones, so I'll have to look. I'll have to double check what all I need, but we got all kinds of bushing options. We want to make sure I got the right stuff. So I was talking to him and he just didn't have what I needed exactly, so he made it work, which was really cool. BDS is one of the companies that's been really cool to, you know, talk to if you have a question or something. They seem to be pretty solid about getting back to you. All right, let's see if I can get in here. See a coil spring. Nice, that looks clean, fresh, as it should. Brand new kit, but you can see that's going to be a little bit taller than the factory one. I don't know if you can tell, but I can tell by looking at it. Should be about 2 inches taller. And what else we got in here? Another BDS decal and some instructions. Might need those. Still got to find these little alignment cam things. Oh, here we are. All right, so should have 2 of these bad boys, and this should help on my upper ball joint to get this thing aligned properly. So we'll have fun trying to figure that out, but let's get started. There's a sneak peek of what it could look like leveled out. I've got the jack set up down here on this cross member here. I've got this tire up in the air now, and as you can see, that's how the front shock goes in. So I should have a shock that has post on the top like that. Then we have this little retaining clip here. You can see that tire's free there. And it's raining again. Now that I've finally made some room in the garage for the Bronco, it's nice and sunny out, but I don't trust it. I'm doing it in here anyway. Hopefully this is a quick process. I'm going to throw these new BDS coil springs in, get this thing sitting a little bit higher, a little bit of clearance for these 33s. As of now, they're super close and they do actually rub on the bumper, and then I can turn all the way once I get past that. But if you hit a bump when you're turning just right, you're going to have a bad time and mess up your bumper, and that goes with a lot of vehicles. So get this thing looking right. Not doing a full install video, just kind of showing y'all what's going on. So we'll get this thing jacked up and start swapping these springs out. This time I actually have jack stands, but they're on a bunch of sketchy pieces of wood, so they hardly count. But got those underneath the frame there, giving me a little support. And that's holding up the truck, and now I can just independently lift each side of the twin traction beam. As you can see, if you're not familiar with this independent slash solid axle crazy Ford thing, it's a pretty smooth riding setup here that's pretty tough, but it's very interesting. It's independent. You know, you can see this is the differential, and then it has a shaft going through to that side, as well as, you know, the axle inside there. Pretty crazy setup, and they're independent of each other left to right, but it's not exactly independent front suspension. But as you can see here, getting this side jacked up, got that tire off the ground, and that one's still sitting over there. Go ahead and take this tire off. I've got our old coil spring disconnected, top and bottom. This down here was a 1 1/8, and I think this was like a 1/2 inch, if anybody cares. I used a adjustable wrench on that, and this was like an 18, at least that fit. Same with this anti-sway bar thing. So we got coil spring, shock, and anti-sway bar link disconnected. So I think if I lower the jack here, we should get a really drastic droop and should be able to just pull this stuff right out. I just disconnected the anti-sway bar on the passenger side, so let's see if that lets this thing come down farther. Oh yeah, there we go. Out with the old, and get rid of this guy too. Old Rancho. Wasn't terrible, but definitely time for some fresh shocks on this thing. All right, let's get some fresh parts on this thing. Now with this lift, the way you get your alignment right is replacing these little cams right here that go underneath the nut on the ball joint. And I'm gonna see exactly how I need to do that. I'm gonna start with getting this leveling kit on though and see how bad the alignment is, because this looks like a total pain. But I might be able to figure it out. All right, I've got the new coil in, the new shock. I didn't do the best job putting the sticker on, but you can see it's the BDS Nitro series. And right now I still have the anti-sway bar still disconnected because that's gonna help me do the other side. And I'm not touching this ball joint alignment cam yet until I figure out how bad the alignment is and how I need to set it up. So for right now, this side is done. I made sure this guy was tight, and I put some pressure on the axle, jacked it up some so that the spring was seated. Tighten that bad boy down, and then we got shocks tight top and bottom. Perfect. That's better. After finishing up the front end, late at night I decided to go ahead and deal with the alignment the next day. And I still haven't put the rear shocks in, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you what this alignment cam looks like. I took it actually to the tire outlet place that mounted up these tires just to get them to check the alignment and see how many degrees I needed to mess with the camber. And while I was there, the guy doing the alignment actually owned a Bronco and was like, oh man, I've done this before, like I can knock it out really quick. And they actually gave me a really good deal on, you know, the labor. So they went ahead and did all of it. Didn't get any footage of it, but let me show you what these cams look like installed. I don't know if you can see that one shiny piece amongst all the rusty crap, but see, she's nice and straight in line with that rear tire. Sorry about the light with the, you know, glare coming in, but got her nice and straight going down the road real nice. Been driving around some, doing excellent. I also wanted to mention, since I showed you all the different options BDS has for the 11 to 16 power strokes, one of which I've got sitting right here in these boxes. We'll get into that later for the project, but for the Bronco, I wanted to mention all the different options they have for even an old truck like this that not a lot of people are buying all the time. BDS has you covered. So obviously this is the 2-inch kit, but let me show you, my buddy had their 4-inch kit, and I'll kind of tell you some of the other stuff they have as well. Here are his 4-inch lift coil springs, and you can also choose to add new leaf springs, or you can just add a leaf to your existing spring for a little bit of height, and also get radius arms if you want, or do drop brackets for your stock ones. So tons of options even for these old rigs, and really clean quality parts. So I've got one of the old shocks out, and I finally figured out why he sent me extra bushings. So the front went in right out of the box, and I actually had some pieces left over, but the rears, this is our new shock here. I'm about to press this bushing in, but the sleeves that came with the bushings for the new rear shocks are wider than the hole that they go in, so that wasn't going to work. And just because this one little piece of metal here was too big, he sent me a whole bag of goodies of other bushings and different size sleeves to make sure that I didn't get halfway into this install and get stuck with a part that wouldn't work. But the front came with 2 different options for front sleeves, and it looks like the ones that were extra that I didn't even need are going to work perfectly. They seem to be the exact same width as the old rear shock here, so that should fit perfectly. I'm about to press these in using some washers that came with it. Here's my new bushing, and this is the factory shock mount bolt. And then once that's in, I'll slide in this sleeve and test fit, and we'll get the other side in. So there you go, bushing in that easy, and double check this is the right size sleeve. We'll slide the sleeve right in there. Alright, so that guy's in there now, and looking at it, this bushing might have actually squeezed to where it's potentially wider than this. So we're gonna do a little test fit, see if that fits in there before I keep going. The test fitment went well, nice and snug, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this top bushing in. Now on the stock shock here, there was no sleeve in it, so I'm gonna do it like that. It seems like the post that it's on kind of has a built-in sleeve, and then it just has a big kind of cup washer on it. So I'm gonna do this one the same way. It seems like it's been working for however long these have been on here, so I'm just gonna make it match the stock stuff. And you can't forget the sticker. Whoever put this exhaust on went ahead and decided these shocks never needed to be replaced again, and it's welded in the way, but after some ratchet strapping and some fighting and busted knuckles, I think I about got it off. Now if I can get the new one in, that'd be nice. Hopefully I didn't do all that for nothing. The new one went in relatively easy because it didn't have this big sleeve around it. This is probably going to be embarrassing, but I'm going to drop this thing quick as if it was like a pre-runner or something. We're testing the shocks and just see how much it bounces. I'm excited to see the ride quality of these new shocks. I've been driving it for a few days without the rear shocks, and now with that done, this thing feels really solid. It's an old truck, but it really feels nice and planted, and doesn't have like the wishy-washy movement. Like I'm going over a bridge right now. And you don't have any like residual bump after the bump. You know, you just hit the bump and then it's done. So really happy with it so far. I'm not going to do too much driving around because I know my tires are loud and you can't hear anything except tires and exhaust and maybe my interior rattling around. So we're going to get this thing somewhere else, show y'all what it looks like. Obviously driving around on this beach that stock vehicles drive on all the time is no real test of the suspension, but I figured it's better than just driving around my neighborhood. Luckily enough, I'm close to a four-wheel drive beach, and it's just a lot of fun to get out here. This Bronco is meant for this, and it really is riding great. You know, I'm going slow. This thing rode good to begin with, but I'm having a good time out here. Not the most level ground ever, but wanted to show you the stance on this thing. I think it's perfect now. You can almost see that Kodiak brown paint in this sunlight, but man, what a look. Like, so classic and simple, but just perfect. You know, and you look underneath and you see the BDS shocks, you know this thing's quality. It's awesome little rig right here. I can't stop looking at it. Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all would have done differently. Would you gone a little bit higher, bigger tires? Would you have done something different? And again, I am putting the full-size spare on the back. I just gotta make adjustments to my mount to get that 33 1350 to fit. But man, look at this thing. Freaking paint, tires, simple old school exhaust, and I'm having the most fun you can have for, you know, about 10 grand or less here. This thing is really, really fun. I absolutely love how this Bronco turned out. I never realized how much I liked Broncos until my wife talked me into getting one for herself. And once she got pregnant, decided it wasn't safe enough for her, I took it over. And man, I'm so glad I got this thing. But with a set of tires and a leveling kit, this thing is just blowing me away with just how smooth it is. And it's just the perfect setup, I think. 33s is making it look really tough without being like too crazy, too much wear and tear on the vehicle. I'm driving it a ton, 100 miles a day right now, back and forth to work on this setup, and man, I'm happy. So thank y'all so much for watching. Obviously, I'm gonna use BDS again since I made this video, and I was so thrilled with this and previous kits I've had, as well as the ones I'm excited about in the future. So thank y'all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and check out Grappaholics on Instagram.
Hey, this is Dennis Anderson, hanging out with Chance up here at Eastern Truck Accessories, man. Follow this cat, Grappaholics, that's where it's at.
Perfect timing, just unlocked the hubs and now I'm getting a free wash, getting that salt off.